Welcome to Koho Living Spiritual Greatness. I am your host, Meiwengel, and I want to invite you on a journey to get to know and to be reminded of your spiritual greatness and how you can live it consciously so that you can create the life you desire. We are all spiritual beings here on earth to have a human experience, and when we focus on this, we are able to create paradise on earth. Come join me in this movement to make this world a better place by letting go of our fears, old patterns, attachments, and resistance. If you want to help shape this podcast, or if you just like my work and want to support it, become a patron of mine. You will have the possibility to ask questions that will be answered in the podcast or receive special coachings in a group or one-on-one setting. You will find the link to my Patreon page in the show notes. But for now, have fun with today's episode. We're gonna go. Hi everybody, and welcome to this new episode here on Koho Living Spiritual Greatness. I'm so happy again to have, for the second time here as my guest on the podcast, my dearest Kumu Mahealani, who was the inspiration for the name of this podcast. She taught me everything about Koho so she taught me the name also. So that's why I know what Koho means. But we have an extra episode for that, so go back to that one if you haven't heard. But for everybody that doesn't know you, maybe just a quick, who are you?
Well, I'm grown up. Does that count?
Yes, a little.
Well, let's see. I am a Kumu teacher, Ona Kupuna, meaning a messenger for the ancestors. This has been something that's been in my life since I was little. So I've, how shall we say, been like my grandfather and those in my family who believe and who lives the Aloha spirit, the Aloha spirit being love. And the Aloha spirit, oh, did I tell you? It means love. And more love. Lots of love,
Lots of
And from that point of entry or view, one is able to navigate in this lifetime or many other lifetimes as well, many events, promoting that love, promoting that aloha, the universe, for instance, always complies with that kind of positive energy, we ourselves really do feel our best, our very best, when we keep in mind that we are love also. We are love, and you can never have too much love.
That's true.
It's really, really great, So I remember, for instance, pieces of the wisdom that was shared with you about you're in your perfection already. You're perfect. You're perfect just the way you are. Now, if you wanted to add more perfection to that, okay, you can do that too. But do know that there is no fault. There is no, how should we say? There is no forgiveness on perfection. you just are and you continue.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I noticed, and that's why I asked you to have another talk together here, on the podcast, because I think probably as many people in the world, I learned the oponopono as taught basically similar to what was taught in the what's it called, Zero Limits, from that book, basically, with the four affirmations, with the four affirmations of uh, um, yeah, well, basically everybody knows it. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you, and thank you. And and I remember doing that, and I was doing it, but somehow it felt good. But when I realized what was missing, and that's the thing, because you don't know it until you know it. when I when we
Yeah.
when I came to your house and we started learning, and what you teach is ho'oponopono keala, which is different in that way, that it has this one thing, and that was so important. That one thing that you just said, that there's nothing to forgive. And that was the big difference to the, for me it's the old ho'oponopono, but I know yours is probably way
Yeah.
older. um,
Yep.
the very old new ho'oponopono for me, because in my timeline it came a little bit later. But and I think
Yeah.
that's the point, that's one of the biggest point that is missing for a lot of people, is that
Mm,
we don't need to be finding fault in any way. In any way, we don't have to.
totally. That's so true. You know, the mantra that was inserted, and, you know, I just want to be really clear on this. The mantra of forgiveness that was inserted into Ho'oponopono Keala, you know, means that the person or persons didn't understand our language, absolutely, didn't understand our thoughts, our mana'o, our pu'uvai, meaning the heart and the mind space, that intelligence, yeah, did not understand anything about us. Because had they even learned our language, they would have seen that there is nothing in making right more right. There's nothing in that that speaks of wrongness, you know. And forgiveness has its own value, its own value. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying that it doesn't fit somewhere. It does fit somewhere, absolutely. But not in the Hawaiian system, not in our teachings.
Especially if we
Yeah,
speak about aloha, of being unconditional love.
absolutely.
Because if I have unconditional love, there is nothing to forgive.
That's it. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. However, again, because of the insertion that adds to the confusion, it's also just to let you know that then it's about money. I'm going to say it, you know, it's about money. I mean, come on now. Unless you have that trauma and drama, that pilikia, you know, um, there's nothing that's going to draw people into, oh, I'm going to buy that book, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So those who write this stuff, okay, being very honest, they're doing that from a standpoint of book sales. It's not so much as whether they're right or wrong. They're just doing it from book sales, you know? Those kind of
And
books that have the trauma drama, they sell.
yeah, and I think also because, and this is me coming from a Christian household. Like I was brought up
Ah,
with the Christian beliefs from the church. And one of the things that I've always noticed within there, it's always about finding fault. It's always about,
ah,
and that's one of the things that I also liked about your teaching. That I remember when you said that there's this fault finding society, and that actually opened. And the thing is, like, if you don't hear it, if you don't know about it, you don't realize it, because we're all so inside of it that we don't see it. But once you take that step back and start looking at how often we are in this fault finding mode ourselves. Like we start finding fault in others, but the same, we start finding fault in ourselves. That's why we feel like we're not enough, we're not good enough, you know, or we're too much
yeah.
for other people. And
Mm.
we don't practice unconditional love with ourselves or with others.
right, because the leadership that has led us through the life experiences, let's say, had faults. It's, you know, that's the identity, is that fault finding society. You are not good enough, you know. And even when
Yeah,
you think you are, somebody will find that, you know, somebody will show you you're not.
I know, and it's so interesting because I keep having this picture of these monks that, how do you say, that hit themselves because you know they have to
Yeah.
repent and repent. And
Yeah,
I mean, I understand that it's within their belief and they need it, and I mean, if that's what they
absolutely.
believe is right, it's okay.
Absolutely.
But what it does to the whole society, I mean, in any society, there's because of those dogmatisms that were set on upon us, and that's one of the things also that I loved about the Hawaiian philosophy in general, but especially also when we learned it from you, that it takes away a lot of dogmatism. Like there's not many rules that you have to follow because you follow the main rule, that is you follow whatever, you know, how
Mhm.
spirit wants to manifest through you,
Spirit.
through each and every one of us,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. 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 And the fact that feel um you feel a partnership, if you will. You feel like a that you can participate in your own greatness, you know, in feeling what it is that makes you one, makes you you, and in that you is the happiness of you. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You know,
Definitely,
the
because
greatness.
yeah, because it makes us authentic on one hand, and and that's one of the things, because I remember when I first started learning about these things, that one of the resistances that I had was that if I would do things for myself, that it would be selfish, but it's actually
Oh,
not.
yes, 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 selfish.
And
Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that's like the biggest gift, because it's actually not, because the more I do for myself,
Oh,
the
boy.
more I am in my spirit, like we say, the spiritual greatness. That's why this podcast is also called
Absolutely.
Living Spiritual Greatness, because it's about being
Absolutely.
connected. And when we are in this connection with ourselves, we have so much strength to be there for others in a way that we couldn't see before. That's the thing. Like I can just tell everybody, like, this is my experience, my own experience. I used to hold back, or I used to be like, okay, I can't be selfish, I have to, you know, like help here, help there, help everywhere except myself.
Right.
But the moment that
Right.
I started to change that,
Mm.
there's so much strength within me now that I'm able to help way more people than I did before.
Ah, I know. Isn't that so lokai? It's so ohana. It's so family. It's so unifying. I mean, boy. Yeah. 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 And this is what I'm
Definitely, yeah.
feeling is the reason too for all of this turnaround, all of this, you know, the virus, you know, coronavirus stuff. I really feel like the whole world. I mean, it's not a coincidence, you know. It's major. It's huge, you know. That all of us are at a stop. You know, it's a stop. It's a stop. You know, it's a okay. Who are you? Where you going? What you doing? You know, I mean, how is it that you want to carve out your next moment in life? How do you want to? How do you see that? You know,
Yeah.
what do you want to participate in to help not just yourself, but yes, to help others too? And like you said, you can do it. You can do it when you feel that what we call again aloha, that love, that understanding, that it's a it's a oh gosh, it's a waterfalls, it's the rainbows, it's, you know, there's lots of it. You know, there's no such thing as the lack of. There really isn't. There really isn't. I mean, the universe is huge.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things that you also say, because you just said that because we're so connected, every one of us. And
Oh
again,
gosh.
if I work on myself, like if I really, like, I always feel like this, like we're all energy beamings, right? And we're all
Yeah.
interconnected. And if our energy is darkened because of I love when you say the pilikia are basically the
Yep.
attachments, the trauma and
Pilikia.
drama that we connect through time.
Yep.
But so when our energy ball is full with all those dramas, it's darkened a little bit. That's how I see it. And the thing is
Yes,
that
but it's true.
if right, so if I start working on myself, and this is again going inwards, doing things for myself, listening to what I need to change, what I need, no, not to change, but what I could do better, because we don't want to have
Yeah,
the judgment of
exactly.
something being bad. I clean that little bit, my energy ball, right? And the thing is that the
Yeah.
more clean energy balls we have around the world, the more vibration, the more high vibration we have on the whole planet. So even though we're only working on ourselves, we're actually doing something for the whole of the earth, right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You know, and I believe, I feel it, I really feel it, that we're also recognizing the natural forces that are already with us. You know, they're already here. When the fact that we have now been forced to take a breath or two or three, you know, that it gives us this time to reflect on what's here. Like I'm looking out my living room and I see a forest of trees, you know, and it just connects me back to nature, you know, nature, the natural elements, nature, the simplicity of it, you know. I remember my grandfather used to say, grass grows because grass grows. Fish swim because fish swim. Have you ever wondered if a fish would ever ask, shall I swim today? No.
No, they don't.
I mean, it's that simple, you know, it's that simple to just relate to that. And again, nature. Somehow or another, with the industrial age, et cetera, we sort of got away from that, you know, the natural forces and the natural sources and the vibrational energies that create all of the experiences that we would really love to create more of, you know. The repeated history is about what is it that we want to repeat within our moments, you know. Absolutely love, absolutely joy, peace, oneness, you know, paddle together, make it happen. Yeah. And we can do it, So I look at this, what's happening on the world stage, I look at it as a great pause. In Hawaiian, we call it the ha. Taking in the breath, you know, and then breathing it out. Ha. Yeah. You know?
Aloha.
Aloha, you know, the greatness. It's just fantastic, you know, just fantastic. So yeah, I just love it. You know. People often ask me, well, what about, say you're helping someone and maybe they don't really see it, maybe they don't agree with it, maybe their choices is not to be a part of that, you know, whatever that is, you know. What do you do? How do you convince them to see a little bit further than the ends of their noses or something like that, you know. And I said, actually, it's not my job, okay? My job, and I'm real clear about this, my kiakahi, my purpose, my purpose, that responsibility that I take on is really to help support the alohas. And that's in everyone already. So really, my job's kind of easy, I think. You know, just, oh, hey, a little reminder, you know, however that needs to be. Yeah, it's all about the aloha. It's all about the aloha, and make it happen. And as much as I can and will support that, yes, absolutely. You know, it's like earlier, the earlier part of this week, we sort of had how shall I say, a temporary misunderstanding, you know, you and I yeah. And, you know, when I realized that that was, you know, on the table, I thought to myself, oh dear me, gosh, I guess I didn't make it clear enough. I really have got to let her know that no matter what it is, we are going to find the pono. And we will find it, you know. It's already, the compass is already on the aloha. So that's it, you know. So whatever the concerns are, it's going to be aloha, no matter what.
No, and I mean, in our case, I love it because we were both talking about the same thing. We were just talking sort of a little bit, you know, like past each other, but we were both talking about the same thing. But I know what you mean, especially when it's with other people. That's also one of the things that I've noticed, that years ago, maybe before I learned all of the Hawaiian philosophy, I would have probably said, okay, this person has a different opinion than me, so we don't fit together, right? But that's one of the things that I love about true unconditional love, is I can be friends with someone that has a completely different opinion, different view of the world.
Totally.
But I can accept that person. And as long as that person can accept me the way I am, we're fine. We don't have to, I don't have to change their mind. They don't have to change my mind. We can just be pono with each other.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, of course, there are certain values that we're always going to have, you know, but I think in general, it shows you to accept, like it's the acceptance of each other, because it's also the acceptance of yourself, because the other one's just a mirror of me, right? So
yeah, exactly. And really, when you look at the words koho luna, you know, it really means the matchups. What you're doing is you are matching up to the alohas. You're matching up to that vibrational energy, you know, and it's from that matchup that everything else can grow and be and experience. And, you know, we're working from that high level of matching in already.
And thank you that you're saying that again, because that's why for me koho luna is so important, because I think there's so many people out there that want to manifest beautiful things in their lives. And they keep saying, I need to manifest. But for me, when I understood koho luna, the matchup that the universe does when we manifest.
Yes.
The thing is that we always manifest. It's like an unseen muscle that we have that happens all the time. We just think that all the negative things, no, I didn't manifest that. So we actively want to manifest positive things, but we don't see that subconsciously we're actually manifesting all the other stuff. Right? And once we understand that, it's like, and I want to give you an example, because there's so many beautiful examples of how many beautiful things we manifested for ourselves. But there's not many people talk about how they manifested something bad. I remember wanting to, I had a very important meeting in Munich and I had to go by
Oh,
train. And I remember that I said, I'm taking one train earlier because in case that train runs late, I'm still on time. So what do you think what happened?
okay.
Mm-hmm. The train ran late and I got there 10 minutes before my meeting. And that is the perfect example of how we manifest all the time. So whatever I do, I'm telling the universe is constantly just waiting for me to what I say, right? And what I want.
Yeah, exactly.
Do the koho luna with me.
Exactly. Exactly. That's so cool. Yes, you got it. You got it. Yes, 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 yes. You know, it was just like I was sitting with someone a couple of days ago, and I forget the whole scenario about it, but this person pointed out that, okay, you know, yes, I agree, or I'll do that, or whatever. And then said something to the effect of, but I'm watching you. You know, it's like, but I'm watching you. You know, and I thought, pretty interesting. Okay, watching this person because this person may screw up was the expectation. That was what I was feeling that this person was saying. Yeah, but I'm watching you. You know, it's like they expected him to screw up, you know?
Exactly. And that's when koho luna happens.
Yes, 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 yes. So I stopped that person. I stopped the, you know, that realm, that energy, you know. And I said, wait, hold it. Wait a minute. Okay. You might want to change that. We invite you to change that kind of thought. You know, we just invite you to do that. Instead of that, pointing out that there's a possibility that that person is going to miss the mark, so to speak. Yeah. Don't even go there. Why even go there? Just koho luna. Just match up that they're there.
Exactly, and give them the option to do it, because if we already expect the negative things, then that's what's going to happen.
Exactly. The universe complies. Exactly. It hears. And it doesn't judge it. It just hears it and goes, okay, there it is. It's so now you simple.
Now you heard it from my source why I chose koho luna, because I think it's so important for us to learn to koho luna consciously. When we do it consciously, then we can make beautiful things even more beautiful, and make things that are pono even more pono. We can, by the way, pono is I could translate it as harmony, right? It's very harmonious.
Yeah.
Something's good.
Yeah, the perfection of it all.
Exactly. That's pono, and if we're talking of that's pono for me, then it's good, right?
Yeah, that's great.
and so if something's bothering us, usually those are the things that are filled with pilikia, with attachments, and that's why we work on ho'oponopono keala to make it even more beautiful and even more pono, so that it's fine. And that's why I think it's so important to know of koho luna, because when we consciously practice koho luna, which is, like I said, for me, koho luna is like a hidden muscle that we have that is always working. But once we start using it consciously, it's like we're using it a little bit more, like we are directing it. It's not just going all over the place, but we can direct it where we want to have it. And then we get even closer to what I'm getting goosebumps on my right arm. And that's when we direct it towards what we want to create in our lives. And that's how
it works, you know. It really works. It's so you're right, it's so directed, it's so simple. I just keep coming up with that. It's so simple. It's so simple.
Yes.
That's probably why sometimes it gets a little, I don't know, lost maybe, but it's so simple, you know.
I think we had it in our last interview, but I can't emphasize enough on it, because that's one of the things also that I learned from the Hawaiian philosophy. Things don't have to be so difficult, because we expect, like, to be able to do things in our lives, to create things in our lives, to be aloha with things in our lives. We think that we have to go through huge rituals and do huge things
Oh
and
yeah.
read thousands of books. But in the end, it's so simple. I mean, if you're called to a book, that's good. I'm not saying that don't do it, but don't don't pressure yourself that things have to be so heavy and so long lasting, because that's one of the things that I wanted to tell you. Because in your case, you were born into a family where you were where you were taught from little the whole path, and it was very clear from little on that you were the messenger. You're here to teach all of us, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah. Support
also,
everyone.
yeah, but also right now we're going through a time where everybody's supposed to remember their spiritual greatness, right? So we don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be born into a
Oh, I
family,
love that you're saying that.
right?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, that took another excuse out of the way. You know what I mean?
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You got it. Yeah. Absolutely. So true. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, that's, for a lot of people that's been a biggie. Yeah, a lot. And I myself have wrestled, or I should say used to wrestle with the concept of that, really. How how do I help people to know, one, you, like you just said, you don't have to do a whole lot of rituals, if any at all. As a matter of fact, my grandfather was not one for rituals per se, you know. He is very simple, very simple person, being. He used to say sometimes, too many rituals, no good. You missed this event. It's all gone already by the time you're done with the ritual. So he said, no, stay with it, go with it, feel it in your heart space, your mana'o, your pu'uvai, your na'au. Those are the elements that are so important, not outside of yourself, but it's all inside of yourself, and no matter, oh, you could be, say, maybe the best chanter around or anything. You're saying the words just so, and people are like impressed because you have it this, down, and all of that kind of stuff. But it doesn't mean that you are putting your pono, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that that takes the place of pono at all, It doesn't mean that. It just means that for the world, you're on display, so to speak. Because people do ask me that, oh, do you do a ritual with the sun and the moon? And yeah, they're pretty up there. I love them.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I love the full moon ritual that we did together with Doris when I was there.
Yeah.
But it was also, and this is something, it was so natural. It didn't feel like a ritual.
No.
And
yeah, that's true.
And I think that's also because some of our listeners know that I have a shamanic background. So I learned shamanism. And I also worked with a lot of shamans in Germany. And I remember that I got to a point when I started to learn more about the Hawaiian philosophy, that I didn't, I mean, and that's one of the beauties that I love about my shamanic teacher, because he taught me from the beginning, you don't need nothing, just yourself. So for me, I've always been one of those shamans that does it. I didn't need to dress up. Like I can bring my drum and my rattle if I feel like
Sure,
it, but it's
sure.
not like I have to
Absolutely.
do my work, right? And that was so interesting to see when I was working with others, or when I went on fairs, because I remember I was doing fairs with a friend of mine. She's a Mongolian shaman, so she has like the whole dress up, and when she does a ritual, I mean, it's beautiful, it's incredible to watch and everything. But it was interesting to see, because there's different kinds of people that need that. They sort of like need their shaman to look like a shaman and to, you know, bring the whole party and bring the whole,
That's true.
yeah, ritual to it. And who would speak to me, because I was just there standing there like, okay, let's talk. You know, like, okay, let's have a talk.
That's so,
and
yeah.
but I
So,
think it's also good to acknowledge that for yourself, because sometimes you just need it. I mean, even for myself, sometimes it feels good to have a ritual, like when we did the full moon ritual. It was beautiful, it felt good,
mm,
it felt right. And sometimes we need it like that, but in the end, what's important is the essence, right, that we bring in.
oh gosh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really true. Boy. Did any of you, is it okay if I ask them if they had a question or two here?
Yes,
My
please.
peeps.
Of
Yeah.
course.
What did you have, Carolyn?
One question I wrote down was, what does it really mean to embody your own spiritual greatness? What does that look like?
Okay,
Wow,
you
is that
want
for me or for
to answer
Kumu?
that?
Oh, for either one, whoever feels most called to answer.
I would say, Kumu, you start, I go next.
Oh, okay, okay. So would you say that again?
What does it mean to embody your own spiritual greatness? What does it look like?
What does it look like? Actually, it looks like me. I don't have a, you know, I don't have another image other than myself. If I did have, I guess the next closest would be within my family, within, you know, my mom, who set some really good examples. My grandfather set some really good examples. But for me, myself, evolving as I have from, you know, day one, I find that, yeah, I see me as that image, that, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So it begins with the. That's how it is, you know. What do you think?
I would second that too. That on one hand, it's because I think spiritual greatness is about accepting ourselves the way we are, and just, you know, allowing us to be who we are. And I would say for myself that I'm almost there. But I'm still working, I think, like everybody. I still have my own evolvement of some piliquias that I'd like to let go. I think I'm great where I am already. That's why, without judgment, that's perfect where I am. But of course, because I am who I am, I love, like, one of the things of me being me is to always make better more better. So I want to make it more better.
Yeah, yeah.
But
there's always room.
exactly. So that's also, that would be also, I think it has a lot to do with trusting who I am, where I am, and that I'm doing the right thing. And I'm grateful that I was able to go on this journey, because it was an amazing journey to get to know. Kumu knows a little bit, because I used to not allow myself to be myself. Like I was really acting for everybody else. So for me, living spiritual greatness really means being myself, allowing myself to be myself and to live my own truth.
Yeah, which is great. So, Bretta, did you have anything to add?
That was a great question. Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. I like the way you brought it also into Mahalo. Thank you. Okay, if there's no more further questions and things like that, we've made a long one here that we can put into clips and things and share further.
Yes, of course. We're going to share everything. So for everybody who feels the calling, our dearest Kumu is situated on Big Island, Hawaii. I highly recommend it. I did a 4-week internship, and I recommend to everybody do a 4-week. There's a possibility of doing it shorter, but I think 4 weeks is perfect, or at least do 3 weeks.
It worked.
Like if you can't do 4, do at least 3 if possible. Highly recommended. Or of course, if you want to, there's so many online possibilities as well. And I hope we're going to have you more often here on the podcast as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to put all the links below, definitely, so you can see everything. You can find Kumu's website. And I always say Kumu because she's my teacher. I know you can also say Anake. And yeah, thank you, Kumu. That was so beautiful. And thank you so much for your guests that had this wonderful question. Really amazing. Thank you so much.
They were great. Okay, so we'll see you on another time.
Yes.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Koho Luna.
Thank you.
Okay. That's what. How do we do that one? Oh, I don't know.
Aloha. Thank you.
Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha.